Hey everyone, before getting into today's topic, please remember that any and all information about Wuthering Waves may be outdated or changed because it's taken from the second closed beta. We have no way of knowing officially whether the ecosystem or anything else in the game will remain untouched until the official full release of the game in a couple of days. But enough of that, let's get straight into it. In Wuthering Waves, echoes are the equivalent of artifacts or relics for your character. They are an integral part of building a character. There are a total of 5 slots for each character, and each echo has their own unique abilities, whether they are mobility, crowd control, or damage based. You can only use the ability of the echo that you placed in the first slot in your character's echo menu, so the order of the other 4 echoes doesn't really matter. There is an added twist to them. So instead of being inanimate objects that you can farm for in dungeons or domains, in this game, they're monsters you can encounter in the overworld. So upon defeating one of them, there is a percentage-based chance of having them drop their echo. You can increase this chance by increasing your data dock level, but I'll talk more about that in a minute. There are 4 different echo classes, and each of them has a particular cost. Cost is a unit of measure used by the game to limit players. In the beginning of the game, everyone starts with a cost limit of 10, meaning you can have any combination of echo classes as long as they are at or under the 10 cost limit. As you level up your dock level, this limit can be increased to 12. Echoes are divided into 4 classes, and the higher costing echoes usually have the best activatable effects. But remember, only the echo placed in the first slot may have their effect activated during battle. The 4 classes are Common class, which has a cost of 1, the Elite class that has a cost of 3, the Overlord class that has a cost of 4, and the Calamity class that has a cost of 4. Notice the Overlord and Calamity class echoes have the same cost of 4. This is because the enemies you need to defeat to acquire them are overworld bosses. There is only one Calamity class echo in the game, and that's the Bellborn Geochalon, aka Gaming Turtle. The player is granted more freedom in this regard because defeating bosses and obtaining echoes is absolutely free. You don't need to spend your in-game stamina on echo grinding, although it is important to note that overworld bosses have a 5-minute respawn timer, and the first 5 times you defeat a boss, you will have increased chances to obtain an echo drop from them. I don't know how true this is or how much of an increased chance we'll get, but I thought I'd mention it regardless. There are also certain overworld enemies who function as mini-bosses and will have a red aura around them. I do not own this gameplay. It comes from Sydneymar. Big thank you to them. They've got a full video on all the 29 elite enemies with red aura and their locations, so please go like the video, subscribe to them, show them some love. Getting back to these mini-boss enemies, they will drop you a guaranteed yellow rarity echo when defeated, and much like normal and regular elite enemies, they will not respawn after being defeated. So you have to wait for the daily reset to farm them again. Either that, or go into a friend's world. But be aware that they require you to be a high enough level to beat them, or at the very least, to be a god at this game. Normally, in other gacha games, there is a counterpart to stamina that recharges over time and is used to farm important in-game resources. You do not need to use your stamina for echo farming. But in order to obtain upgraded materials from said bosses, you have to spend stamina. Additionally, there are domains that allow you to more efficiently farm for specific echoes at the cost of some stamina. Whether you decide to use your stamina on these domains or not is your choice, and either way you do it, it's fine. Each echo class has different possibilities for their 2 main stats. So, the common class has HP attack and defense percentages as possibilities for their first or primary main stat. The elite class has HP attack defense percentage as well, with the added bonuses of energy regen percentage and elemental damage boost. I'll talk more in detail about these two possible main stats in a second. And then the Overlord and Calamity class echoes have the exact same possibilities for their primary main stat. Notice how the elite class echoes are the only ones that have the chance of getting energy regen percentage and elemental damage boost as primary stats. It's important to note that the elemental damage boost stat is not a general boost for all elements. It's divided into the boost for the 6 different elements in the game, so it's going to be a little harder to grind for unless you're that lucky. Now moving on to the secondary main stat possibilities for each of the classes, it's a lot more simple, straightforward, nice and neat. Common class, flat HP is the only option. Elite class, Overlord class, and Calamity class, flat attack is the only possible secondary main stat for them. Substats are completely random, and any echo class can have any substat added to them. On screen you'll see all of the possible substats you can get on any echo piece. Echoes also have rarities, which I briefly mentioned earlier with the mini bosses guaranteeing a yellow rarity echo drop. So here's a nice, neat little table of all of the ranks. Going from rank 2 being the lowest and the worst of the bunch, all the way up to rank 5 gold with a max level of 25 and max number of substats being 5. You will receive rarity specific upgrade materials for your echoes as you progress through the game. So don't worry about stockpiling a bunch of echo level up materials for your rarity 5 echoes, because you won't be able to use your rarity 2 level up materials, for example, on any rarity 5 echoes. But do choose what echoes you level up wisely because your resources are limited. Remember that in the early game DPS is king, so try to focus on building up a DPS, and I'm not going to cover endgame content for this game in this video, but just know if you plan on eventually taking on endgame challenges, you'll need 3 different teams for the Tower of Adversity specifically, so leveling up more than 1 DPS at a time in the early game stages isn't really a bad idea. Now I'm going to talk about databank / dock level. This is different from your union level, which is similar to your account's overall level. Your databank is parallel to a Pokédex. It houses info of every echo monster you've encountered and or fought, and keeps track of the XP you gain. I recommend fighting every monster you find to maximize the amount of XP you accrue for your databank, because the idea is to get your databank level to 15 as soon as possible. At level 15 is when you are able to start getting rarity 5 echo drops. And by leveling the databank up, you can increase a number of things. 1. The minimum rarity of echoes you get. That's to say, if you have the capacity to receive rarity 5 echoes, then the minimum rarity you can get is 4. Number 2. The echo drop chance from defeating enemies, which goes up to a maximum of 20% at data dock level 10. Number 3, the enhanced absorption probability. And that means the chance of getting the highest possible rarity for you, as opposed to the minimum that I just mentioned. And this can go up to a whopping 100% if your data dock level is at 20. And number 4, the cost limit that can go up from 10 to 12. Each of the echoes you find belong to a specific Sonata, which is just a fancy way of saying echo sets, which is a great segue into explaining echo sets. Having 2 echo pieces of the same set gives your character a bonus stat depending on which echo set the echoes belong to. There is a second echo set effect when you give your character 5 echo pieces belonging to the same set. Additionally, any given echo monster may or may not belong to more than 1 set. Take for example the Bellborn Gietchlon gaming turtle. It belongs to 2 different sets. This means it has a chance of dropping the same echo, but it can either be from 1 set or the other. So take a look at the Tortoise. It's a part of the Rejuvenating Glow and Moonlit Clouds echo sets. Again, the echo that you get from this turtle can either be from 1 set or the other, not both. Taking a look at this list of Sonata or echo sets, the effects for them are pretty straightforward. You've got all the DPS sets, which encompass elemental damage bonuses and boosts. You've even got a DPS set, that is elemental-less and just increases percentage-based attack. And then you've got the support sets that I briefly mentioned earlier, Rejuvenating Glow and Moonlit Clouds. The Moonlit Clouds set is the most versatile by far because it can be ran with sub-DPS or support characters and can be put on just about any character in the current roster of the 1.0 version of the game. You can run this set on your main DPS if you are brave enough, although I do not recommend it and do not condone such behavior. A final thought worth mentioning is that there are phantom echoes in the game, also known as shinies, because if you've got Pokédex in the form of the data bank, and you've got a weird version of pocket monsters, then of course you're gonna have shinies. They function the same as a regular echo, the only difference being in how they look. According to the data from the second closed beta test, their purpose is purely cosmetic, and a random echo will spawn once a day in a set location within a player's world. So you can hunt for this echo with your friends if you'd like. Again, there is no advantage to finding it and obtaining this shiny echo drop. Additionally, allegedly, you will be able to purchase these shiny variants from the store. I don't know who would do that or why, but it is in the store. If you're lucky enough and have friends, and they're gonna play this game with you, I suggest rotating around each other's worlds to farm as much data bank XP as possible. Co-op is unfortunately unlocked at Union level 25, which means you'll have to progress a bit in the game on your own to echo hunt with your friends. But yeah, that's pretty much everything I wanted to say.